think macro, since you mentioned it, doesn't matter, right?
Hmm.
Like there's an element as an investor that you're always fighting the last battle. And the last battle in crypto was all about interest rates and inflation. What was Jerome Powell doing was the most important thing happening in the crypto market. What the latest CPI or PPI, we stood on edge waiting for that. That defined our week, our month, our quarter. Now, who cares? The Fed lowers rates by 25 basis points. Who cares? The US is establishing a strategic Bitcoin reserve. The Fed raises rates by 25 basis points. Who cares? Larry Fink says Bitcoin's going to $500,000 or beyond.
The Donald Trump administration and the many important changes it has made regarding crypto and innovation in less than a week in office have made a lot of people optimistic about the future of the cryptocurrency and digital assets space. The latest person to be hit by this growing optimism is none other than Larry Fink, the powerful CEO of BlackRock, the world's largest asset management firm by market cap. Fink, once a loud Bitcoin critic, now believes the leading cryptocurrency could soon be worth as high as $700,000 per coin. Fink shared this bold prediction during a panel at the World Economic Forum's annual Davos conference last week. While speaking at the panel, the BlackRock CEO shared a conversation with a sovereign wealth fund. Remarking on the potential impact of widespread institutional adoption, he said, "There was a conversation. Should we have a 2% allocation? Should we have a 5% allocation? If everybody adopted that conversation, it would be $500,000, $600,000, or $700,000 for Bitcoin." Fink positioned Bitcoin as a tool for mitigating financial instability, particularly in regions grappling with economic or political uncertainty. He explained its unique value proposition. If you're afraid of the debasement of your currency, or you're frightened of the economic or political stability of your country, you can have an internationally based instrument called Bitcoin that will overcome those local fears. In a recent interview with Milk Road, Bitwise CIO Matt Hougan explains that this latest bout of optimism surrounding Bitcoin and the overall cryptocurrency industry in the United States supersedes everything, including macro indicators like rate hikes or cuts. Hougan and Ryan Rasmussen, Bitwise's head of research, are optimistic that 2025 will be a year like no other for Bitcoin and crypto, and we will see prices hit multiple lifetime peaks before the year ends. As we bring you clips from the interview, please take a little time to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on post notifications for more videos like this. Thanks for the support, and enjoy the video.
The experience I've been having, because we're living in this thing where news breaks every few minutes, is that people have sort of lost the plot. We get worried when an executive order is delayed by a few hours or is slightly different than we expected. And I want to find as many ways I can to remind people that there has been this systemic shift in the environment. I mean, what I wrote is literally true, which is a few weeks ago, the SEC held Solana as an illegal securities offering that ostensibly it wanted to eventually shut down. And now the president of the United States is launching meme coins, on Solana specifically. It's impossible for people to realize how much the winds have shifted. Governments don't turn on a dime. That's not something I've experienced in my lifetime. This has turned 180 degrees and started going down the track in the opposite direction at 1,000 miles per hour. And I just thought this was a good example to remind people that that's what's happening, which means as a long-term investor, the thing to do is just either sit on your hands or buy more. It's not to worry about these short-term things. So that's why I put that out there.
What really matters right now?
Yeah. Well, I think macro, since you mentioned it, doesn't matter, right?
Hmm.
Like there's an element as an investor that you're always fighting the last battle. And the last battle in crypto was all about interest rates and inflation. What was Jerome Powell doing was the most important thing happening in the crypto market. What the latest CPI or PPI, we stood on edge waiting for that. That defined our week, our month, our quarter. Now, who cares? The Fed lowers rates by 25 basis points. Who cares? The US is establishing a strategic Bitcoin reserve. The Fed raises rates by 25 basis points. Who cares? Larry Fink says Bitcoin's going to $500,000 or beyond. I don't know. The CPI comes in 0.2 percentage points hot because there was a automobile manufacturing issue. Who cares, right? Solana is no longer in the regulatory doghouse. Ethereum has lost a little bit of its regulatory moat. The world's largest banks are building on crypto. Those things are 100 times bigger than these 25 basis point things that we used to worry about. So I think the game has just shifted. What matters now is what we see out of the White House, what we see out of Congress, and importantly, what we see out of venture capitalists and builders. I'm betting that we're entering this golden age of crypto where we're going to see 1 million new entrepreneurs building serious projects openly on blockchains and traditional companies building serious projects on blockchain. That's what I'm tracking. And I've just sort of discarded Jerome Powell. He can do what he wants to do in a corner. He can play with his toys. But there's a bigger game afoot, I think, in crypto. And that's what I'm focused on.
Have you seen any change in flows or interest from institutions, or who have you seen change from since maybe either since Trump got elected or since the inauguration?
Yeah.
Absolutely. I'm happy to take this one and pass it to you, Matt, to fill in the gaps here. Both Matt and I spend a ton of time on the road talking to Wall Street, whether those are financial advisors, family offices, hedge funds. We spend a lot of our time going out and talking about crypto with professional investors. And the change from 4 months ago to 2 months ago to today has just been a tectonic shift in the appetite and the attitude towards crypto. There's this great de-risking that has occurred since Trump won the election and now that Trump's in office. And you see that unfolding with things like Gary Gensler resigning and Hester Pierce being appointed to lead the SEC's crypto task force. You see things like, Bitcoin bull Senator Loomis being appointed as the chair of the Digital Asset Committee earlier this morning. So there's real traction and real things happening beneath the surface. And I think that has led to this absolute shift in how financial advisors and money managers and investors are thinking about crypto. It's no longer, what is Bitcoin? I need to understand every element of what a smart contract is or what a blockchain is or how mining works before I even think about investing. It's now shifted to, how should I put it in my portfolio? What is the sizing? 1%, 2%, 5%? And then what tool should I use? Should I use a momentum-based strategy? Should I manage it more actively? Should I just buy and hold an ETF? And I think that is just representative of this massive de-risking that's happened. And that's just fueling the fire for demand for crypto and fueling the winds behind Wall Street coming into the crypto industry.
Yeah, I completely agree. The change I've experienced, I was on a call yesterday with a $30 billion advisory firm, which we've been talking to for 3 years. And for 3 years, they were interested in crypto. They loved talking about it, and they loved talking about it, and they loved talking about it. And now they're moving forward to allocating. It's like your friend who always, threatens to move to another city for years and years. You're like, whatever. And then they make an offer on a house in Austin, and you're like, oh my God, you're actually leaving. That's what's happening now. And I'm having those meetings every day. And if I'm having those meetings every day, other people are as well. I think we're going to see a flood of assets. That's why I think there'll be record inflows to ETFs this year. I think we might get to something like $100 billion next year. I really think we're in the sort of exponential growth phase of institutional demand for crypto. We had $1 billion in flows into the Bitcoin ETFs over the last 2 days. Not Bitwise, but as an industry, $1 billion in 2 days. We had 150 million into Ethereum ETFs. It's like the not dead yet parrot. Those things are going to be very significant in the future. I agree with Ryan. We're likely to see a large number of ETPs launch. We don't really know that yet, specifically in terms of when and where, because conversations are just opening up with the staff. But you have to imagine that the windows are open. One thing that I think will be interesting and maybe surprising, people might imagine that if you looked at the market cap of every asset, it would get a proportional amount of flows. I don't think that's what's going to happen. There's some large cap crypto assets that are effectively zombie coins, which no one is interested in allocating to. I suspect if those ETFs launch, no one will buy them because there's no proximate reason. And then there are assets that are really emergent that people are excited about. And I think those would attract significant flows, probably in excess of their market cap.
Hougan envisions what he describes as the 3 horsemen of insatiable demand for Bitcoin in 2025. The first horseman is the demand from countries and sovereign wealth funds, which has been a popular talking point among Bitcoiners since US President Donald Trump first proposed the idea of establishing a US strategic Bitcoin reserve in July 2024 during the Bitcoin 2024 conference in Nashville. Hougan, Rasmussen, and many other Bitcoiners are certain that this will likely happen before the year ends. They are also certain that if it does, other countries will be forced to make similar moves, which will immediately and rapidly accelerate the demand for the leading cryptocurrency. According to Hougan, the second horseman is corporations, especially mega-cap corporations like Apple, Microsoft, and Google. The Bitwise CIO says it's only a matter of time before one corporation starts buying Bitcoin and others immediately follow suit. Institutional investors are the final horsemen. Though we saw a lot of activities from them in 2024, Hougan says it's going to get much higher in 2025. Let's get back to the video.
I mean, so today, 9 countries hold Bitcoin. Majority of the Bitcoin held by the 9 countries on the map here, some of which are huge sums, right? The US owns nearly 200,000 Bitcoin. China owns nearly 200,000 Bitcoin. And some of these countries hold a small amount, right? Some own 60, 50 Bitcoin. But most of this Bitcoin has been acquired through law enforcement seizures, right? So you can think of events like Mt. Gox or Silk Road, where assets have been seized by the government through different law enforcement actions, right? But this doesn't account for additional purchases that we expect governments to start making as early as 2025, and then over the long term, many years down the road. So I think, where this is going is that the number of countries owning Bitcoin at least doubles this year, probably more than 20 by the end of the year. There's this game theory that plays out when one major country starts doing it, all the others will race to do it to catch up. And you've seen, the rumor mill churning around all these different major countries that are exploring the idea, whether it's Asia, Europe, or North America. And I think once one makes the first step, the race is on. So I think this number explodes dramatically over the next few years. It's important to also think about the fact that these are huge amounts of demand, right? It's not buying 1 Bitcoin or 2 Bitcoin. You're talking about buying billions of dollars worth of Bitcoin from a bunch of different countries, and that adds up very, very quickly. So that demand we expect to grow significantly over time. And it also removes this fear of the government, whether it's the US or China or another government, dumping the Bitcoin that they currently own, right? So it removes this kind of selling fear from the market and then adds this real amount of significant demand on the buy side. And that to me is just one of those, as Matt said, horsemen of demand coming into crypto.
Yeah, I love that. If I can add one more thing, Jay, on top of that, the other fear it removes to me, or at least really limits, is the risk of governments banning Bitcoin. I know when I moved full-time into crypto, people would ask me these questions. What about criminal use? What about environmental use? Aren't there, you can't buy coffee with it. And I felt like Neo in the Matrix, like it was so easy to deflect all of these challenges. But then what if governments ban it? And my mind would go, well, that would be bad. And I actually couldn't see to the point how Bitcoin would come around to co-opt governments. And it felt like the last existential risk was a coordinated government banning across multiple countries, maybe across the G20. That would have been really bad. It would force Bitcoin underground. And somehow, because Bitcoin is on this incredible journey, it found a way to co-opt governments. If that happens in 2025, I think it's straight to many hundreds of thousands or millions become within view. So I think it's really important from that perspective as well, of eliminating that last existential risk.
Is there any chance that this doesn't happen?
Yeah, of course. I mean, it should happen, right? Because it's in their best interest, because you have this element of Pascal's wager where it's a low cost option. And if you don't participate, you're really long term in a bad place. And so I have a very high degree of confidence that will happen, but politics is driven by people, and people are weird, and it's not 100%. Ryan may disagree. He may think it's 100%. He can shut me down. But I think it's going to happen, and I think it's going to happen fast. But of course, there's a chance it doesn't materialize in the way we think. Trump says, we'll keep our Bitcoin, we're not buying more. And then our countries are like, So that could happen. I don't think it's my base case. I don't know what you think, Ryan.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's not. I don't think it's 100%, right? Few things in life are 100%. I think it's somewhere above 75% chance that this happens. I do feel strongly that there's a high level of impatience across the crypto industry right now. At least that's what it feels like on crypto Twitter, right? This news drops this morning, or Senator Loomis tweets, big news coming soon, and people immediately assume it's a strategic Bitcoin reserve, and then immediately say we're going to zero when it's just news that she's the digital asset committee chair. And then Trump's going to sign an executive order and host a call with El Salvador. People immediately say this is it. This is strategic Bitcoin reserve. And if I was a betting man, I would bet that it's probably not. It's probably something around immigration, and it's unlikely that the go-to-market marketing strategy or PR strategy would be to announce a strategic Bitcoin reserve and then hold a call with El Salvador to talk about it. It doesn't really
I don't think
make
so.
that much sense. I'm not a marketing guy for what it's worth, but it doesn't make that much sense to me. So I think there's just this level of impatience out there that it needs to happen this week or even this month for it to matter. And I think that's just factually incorrect. I think it's a very high likelihood that it does happen. And again, I think it's going to happen at some point this year. Even if it doesn't happen this year, it's a long-term tailwind and a long-term funnel of insane demand into a supply-constrained asset. And with that framing, it's hard to think of a world where it's bearish.
Hougan believes the cryptocurrency industry will shed many of the negative labels that have been attached to it by critics and naysayers over the years. Like many other crypto enthusiasts, he is also certain that crypto will go completely mainstream and become a bigger part of the financial system in the coming years. According to the Bitwise CIO, one thing that will quickly make that possible is the significant reduction in crypto-related fraudulent activities and bad actors within the industry. He predicts this will be easily achievable under the Donald Trump administration through the efforts of people like David Sacks, Trump's AI, and crypto czar. Reacting to a video clip in which Sacks said the Digital Assets Working Group will work on defining market structures, stablecoins, and evaluating the national digital asset stockpile, Hougan tweeted, "The amount of fraud and bad actors in the crypto industry will fall dramatically over the next 4 years, as leaders like David Sacks put in place sensible regulations for crypto. The prior approach of regulation by enforcement increased risk to investors. I'm excited for this new era." Do you share Matt Hougan's optimistic and bullish predictions for Bitcoin and crypto in 2025 and beyond? Please share your thoughts, comments, and observations in the comments section below. Also, ensure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on post notifications for more videos like this. Everything you do helps with the YouTube algorithm and immensely contributes to the channel's growth. Thanks for watching.